So Alandra, describe the journey so far, up until this point, writing the book. How has it been for you?
It's been a long journey. I actually started writing about 15 years ago. It's actually when I took a pen in hand. But I would say I was a writer long before that. I started forming stories in my mind as a young girl. In fact, I don't ever remember not having stories go through my mind. But actually to write them down happened about 15 years ago. And once I did start to write, that passion in me just exploded, and I haven't been able to stop writing since.
So let's go back to when you were a little girl then, Alandra. Were you the kind of type you'd kind of hide away in your bedroom and be lying on your bed and jotting notes down on a notepad and thinking, you know what, this is kind of a cool idea. Maybe one day I'd like to become a writer. Did you ever want to be a writer when you were younger? And then finally you got to the point where you decided, I am finally doing it.
No, I never thought about being a writer. For me, it was all about creating the stories, and my stories were created a little bit differently than that. The way I created stories is when I saw people or certain events that touched my life, and when they made an impression on me, then I started to build a world around them, and that world was built so intricately that it finally became a story.
So why did you choose to write fantasy as opposed to nonfiction?
Because fantasy has no boundaries, no limitations. I can basically do what I want to do in fantasy. It has no restrictions for me. When I write, for example, about, let's say, someone who's shooting a bow and arrow, he can, load, aim, shoot in a blink of an eye. The arrow always goes where he wants it to go. It can go with phenomenal speed. I can basically do anything I want to with him. I don't have that option in nonfiction.
Now you say that you actually became inspired by different incidents, different events, different people you've met throughout your life in the last 15 years. So is there anybody in particular who kind of, one day a light bulb went off in your head, you said, there's my mentor, or there's my true person who's really inspired me to become a writer? And if so, who would that be then?
If there's anybody that I can give credit to my writing, it would be my son, Alex. He's been there right from the start. He's pushed me to limits that I normally would not have pushed myself. And I would have to actually give him the credit that I've actually gotten this far in my writing career. Having said that, I'm very self-motivated, so that a large motivation came from me too. But you always need a certain amount of help in life, and he's the one that's given me the most help.
Okay, so what about if you're cooking for the family, or you're having a shower, or you're just sitting having a cup of tea in front of the fireplace? Do any ideas come into your mind?
Oh, all the time. I'm literally always in a fantasy world. I mean, I think if my family had one complaint about me, that would be it.
They think
Mom,
you're not paying attention to them?
Yes. Mom, you're off in your dream world again. Mom, I'm talking to you. Mom, I'm just always gone. I'm always, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing, and I can't help myself. I always slip back into that fantasy world that I'm creating at that moment.
So having run the gauntlet over the last 15 years as a first-time writer, and re-examining the mistakes that you've made along the way up until this point. So if I came to you and I said, Alandra CL, I'm thinking of writing a book, what should I be doing?
The first thing I would tell you is, if you're going to write a book and you seriously want to write a book, take it serious. Put your 100% into it. And
can you do it part-time? Like if you've got a full-time job, can you actually be successful doing it part-time, like in your spare time?
Oh yes. I don't mean necessarily 100% of your time.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is 100% of your effort. 100% in whatever you do. If it's research you're doing, put 100% into getting the right research for it.
So it's not recreational hockey anymore?
No, definitely, definitely. And I think that was my biggest mistake. I had treated it as a hobby for so many years that I just continue to treat it as a hobby, but that just doesn't cut it in the real world. And that certainly changed my outlook on how I need to write if I want to get published.